Welcome. This is our class on latent variables in deep learning. In this class, we will cover the fundamental concepts of latent variables and their role in deep learning models. Now, let us start with what are latent variables and what role do they play in deep learning models. Latent variables are variables that are not directly observed in given dataset but are inferred through some underlying hidden or unobservable patterns and structure in the data. Latent variables are typically represented as vectors or matrices of numbers, and their values are determined by the model during the training process. Now, okay, now let us know the importance of the latent variables. Latent variables are essential in deep learning as they provide a powerful tool for modeling complex relationships and patterns in the data. They allow us to capture the underlying structure of the data, making it possible to generate new data, perform unsupervised learning, and make predictions based on complex patterns. Now, let us know about types of latent variables. There are different types of latent variables, including discrete latent variables, continuous latent variables, Gaussian latent variables, and binary latent variables. Now, let us start with discrete latent variables. These are variables that take on discrete values such as categories or labels. For example, in a classification task, the latent variable may represent the class label. The next one is continuous latent variables. These are variables that can take on any real valued number such as person's height or weight. They are particularly used to represent the underlying structure of the data such as a person's latent preferences. Gaussian latent variables. These are variables that follow a Gaussian distribution. They are commonly used in models such as variational autoencoder and the Gaussian mixture model (VAE) and the GMM. Now, the final one, which is the binary latent variables. These are the variables that take on binary values such as 0 or 1. They are commonly used in models such as restricted Boltzmann machine and the binary latent factor model. Now, let us know some applications of the latent variables in deep learning. Generative methods. Generative models. These are the models that can generate new data that is similar to the training data. Examples include the VAE and the GAN, Generative Adversarial Network. The next comes the recommendation clustering and classification. Clustering and classification model. Latent variables can be used to group similar data points together or to classify data into different categories. Now the next comes the recommendation systems. Latent variables can be used to capture a user's latent preferences and recommend products or services that are most relevant to them. Reinforcement learning model. Latent variables can be used to represent the state of the environment in a reinforcement learning task, allowing the agent to make optimal decisions based on the current state. In this class, you have learnt a strong understanding of the role of latent variables in deep learning, on how to use them and improve the performance of the models. I hope that you will find this class informative and engaging, and I look forward to nothing.